Okay, we'll call the meeting to order.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
No additions or corrections, huh? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes from last week.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public comment period. Again, no personal attacks allowed. And Mike, I do want to remind you not to use any names of any personnel.
Perfect. No.
Can we have it for the record?
Later, it's probably safe.
Michael Fields, Winnebago Township. As the Frac Sand Study Committee busies itself developing very strict regulations, let's take a 2-minute look at how our current regulations are enforced and why the zoning administrator's response to Commissioner Zamiewski last year was misleading. 3.5 years ago, the Board of Adjustment directed the zoning administrator to issue a zoning permit to Skyline Materials that contains several provisions. This is the after-the-fact variance Skyline sought after having violated my setback. 3.5 years later, no such permit is on file in Environmental Services. The first provision of this non-existent permit tells the mining company to fill in with topsoil and properly slope, seed, and mulch the disrupted area. In July of 2011, I took some soil samples. This is topsoil taken from just above the encroachment slope. This sample was taken from the middle of the slope. This is topsoil. This is not. Page 127 of the zoning ordinance defines a proper slope as one that does not exceed 18% in grade. The slope in question remains at 45% in grade. Provision 2 says the project must be completed by May 15, 2011. It's still not complete. The third provision directs the zoning administrator to inspect the area to be sure that provisions 1 and 2 have been complied with. If this inspection had occurred, a quick glance would tell the inspector that the mining company had not filled in with topsoil, had not properly sloped the encroachment, and had not mulched anything. So, Skyline was able to violate my setback and not meet the provisions of the variance order it had sought. Is this the kind of oversight and enforcement we can expect if frac sand mining gets started here? Your faith in strict regulations is built on some very unstable ground. Sand, in fact. Thank you for your time.
Any other people to wish to address the board at this time? Okay. Ann, would you like to move up on the agenda?
Madam Chair, Commissioners, my name is Ann Selness and I'm with the Root River Soil and Water Conservation District. I'm here today to ask you to consider a resolution to support and participate in the Root River One Watershed, One Plan, and to select an appropriate elected official to serve on the policy committee. In addition, I'm here to ask you to consider a resolution designating Houston County's aquatic invasive species prevention effort to the Root River Soil and Water Conservation District.
So you need 2 separate motions, correct?
Yes, please.
Sounds good. Commissioners, any questions?
I don't. Like a plan.
So we need two separate motions. First motion,
I move to approve the One Watershed, One Plan project.
I'll second that.
further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And I will move to approve the aquatic invasive species plan.
Second that.
Further discussion on that? I think I brought up last week about attending the aquatic, and I gave Ann all the contact information I had too, so
Yeah.
it's a good plan, and it's been good for our county. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Do you want a commissioner appointed to it?
Yes.
I nominate Dana to be appointed to the One Watershed program.
Dana accepts.
I'll second.
All right. I don't know if we need a vote on that, that's by
I think we do.
consensus.
We should.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Dana, you're our representative.
That resolution that you had in our package, did we approve that with the first motion?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It was very good.
Thank you. And that's all I need then, so thank you for your time.
Thanks, Ann.
Thanks,
All
Ann.
right, thank you, Ann. Okay. And we have somebody from EDA here this morning. Might have to reintroduce yourself.
All right, my name is Sam Whitehead. So as you know, I introduced myself a few weeks ago, but now I'm approaching you in official as a UEDA coordinator here. I'm just going to give you recommendations based on our last board meeting about these tax abatement plans that we, or applications that we accepted here. And there's two different ones that we got. One for Willard Weegriff Senior Apartments, and they would be building an apartment complex in Eitzen. And then another for the Caledonia Veterinary Clinic, and they are looking to relocate their business to the old creamery building here in town. So we can go over the Weegriff Apartments first, if that's all right with you. So just as background, about a month ago, I had met with Arnie Beneke, who was looking to find some assistance in terms of a tax abatement for constructing a senior apartment complex. So it's not like assisted living or anything like that. They're separate units that would include there's 8 units, and they each have a garage, and they're just apartments for focused on senior citizens. And the funding came from an estate where the family had wanted to build a complex in Eitzen because they lived in Eitzen, but they had to leave when they had health issues because there was nothing around there that would serve their needs. So they do have funding for it, and all that they're asking for is a stair-stepped abatement so that they can kind of keep their rent low for as long as they can. So for the first 5 years that the abatement would be applicable, they want to abate the eligible tax, 75% of the eligible amount. And then the next 3 years, they'd want to abate 50%. And then for the next 2 years after that, the final 2 years, they'd want to abate 25%. So I have numbers in here for, at the current rate, the building that they're proposing would be valued at $1 million, is what the assessor has estimated. And so 75% of the eligible amount would be roughly $5,728. That'd be for the first 5 years, and that would actually be payable 2017. So it would be starting with tax assessment year 2016, just so they can get their building actually built and constructed before that starts hitting them. And then the next 3 years after that, they would want $3,819, assuming everything stays the same, and that's 50%. And then the final 2 years would be estimated at $1,909. So it's estimated that the total value is going to generate at least an additional $1 million of tax assessed value to the property. So I guess it's up to you guys to determine whether or not we proceed with that. If we do wish to proceed, public hearing would be the next step for comment and all of, and essentially proposing the idea to the public. And then after that, we could make a motion to accept or reject their application.
After the public hearing?
Yep, after the
So
public
now
hearing.
that's all that we need to do is go forward with the public hearing, correct?
Right, yep.
And this is, I think this is a wonderful thing when you have the opportunity that somebody's donating the money. There's no elderly housing there now.
Correct.
And it'll be a great boost for the community. So I'm all in favor of it.
Yeah, it's just literally a gift.
Mhm.
And while I don't like giving up tax dollars, tax revenue, soon down the road, we will
Yeah,
recover it.
eventually it'll come
Yeah,
back. It's
it
not
will.
something that's gonna go
Exactly.
away.
And the
Help them
idea
get
behind
by.
it is to keep the rents low, to fill the facility. Otherwise, they're afraid that if, by adding the tax and other costs to it, that it may be too expensive, I think, for some people to want to venture into it, so.
Did the city of Eitzen sign off on their end of it?
No, it hasn't
They had
been-
they had a lot
This-
bigger number than ours.
This
Yeah.
is,
We
the
talked about
thing
that.
is contingent on the city of Eitzen approving the application for tax abatement. So if they would go ahead with
Mhm.
it, then we will. So everything we do from here forward will be contingent on them going for the tax
Mhm.
abatement.
And I don't foresee any problems, but we won't have a council meeting until the second Tuesday of next month.
The public hearing will be before that, though. We are actually just approving moving forward with a
Mhm.
public hearing
Right.
at this time. Okay. So was that a motion, Judy?
Yep.
Is there a second?
Second?
Any other discussion or questions on it? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
All right, so the second application was for the Caledonia Vet Clinic. And they're looking to relocate from their current location to the Caledonia Veterinary, to the Old Creamery building. And so this would be a big boost for them as well. And they're looking for 4,824, or the maximum allowed by that per year for the duration, for 10 years. So they're going to need to remodel the site in order to locate there, and that is estimated to bring an additional $500,000 of tax assessed value to the property. So their total tax bill is estimated to be $19,568, with $5,782 of that being the county's portion of new taxes. So this proposal wouldn't abate existing tax from their business, just the new tax accrued by renovating and relocating.
Mhm.
And so they've been in town for I think she said 4 years,
Yeah.
and this would allow them to bring on additional staff. Immediately, they would hire a full-time secretary, with the intent that they would also be able to quickly hire a full-time technician and possibly another full-time veterinarian as well. And then in the future, they were looking to add a boarding, like a kennel, part of their business, and that would bring additional staff in as well. So, and then this is the same, the action required here is the same as before. Just need to approve a public hearing and then go from
Mhm.
there. So,
I will move that we go forward with Caledonia Vet Clinic tax abatement project.
I'll
Aye.
second it.
Okay.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh,
Right. They're both scheduled for the same time. Should we set a different time for,
oh, both
No.
for,
We can do one hearing.
yeah, you want everybody to come in at once for both of them?
Yeah.
It seems like the simplest
Like on
thing.
the building permits, they always have a different 15 minutes apart or something.
Oh, they might be. I think it just says that the hearing would start at 10, but I'm sure they'll
do one and then the other.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I emailed them to come in early, so
Oh, okay.
Karen should be here momentarily.
Since Brian is here, can we skip ahead and
Yeah.
talk about the
moving on to the discussion items. We, meeting with the highway department and the commissioners to tour those additional facilities. I don't know, Brian, you want to explain some of that?
Been talking to commissioners and sheriffs stuff about having a date set up for touring different facilities around the county, then also kind of reinforming this board or introducing you to what's the past history of what's been done for studies and design and looking at different stuff with the existing facility. So I put a bunch of files onto some flash drives, gave a couple of commissioners copies. I'll give each of you before I leave here as well, if you don't have one. What we have at our office with different studies, board minutes, all kinds of stuff. And then what I would like to do next week, the schedule looks like it has really nothing on or very minimal stuff on the agenda, is to go over with the board what's on the disc. And then afterwards do a tour of our existing shop. So you see the study, go out there to the shop, you can see what we have to work with. And then potentially do a tour of Caledonia's Midnight facility, Fillmore County's Canton facility. Both those facilities are maintenance buildings where they store their equipment, no mechanic bays in those shops. Midnight, from what I've been told, does not even do any oil changes at their shop, but it gives you an idea of what they have to work with. And then if the commissioners can devote the entire day, go over to Onalaska to their Public Works facility, which is a metal building built in 2006, and see what they have over there. If you can't devote the entire day, just the morning, then we can skip that and set it up for a different day.
I really want to see us get all this information. I think that everybody on the board needs to be informed of what's gone on in the past, because we don't have commissioners with the history all the way back, and it's kind of important to know that, so we're not redoing what's already been done, and that we really do look at it and understand it, and then look at some of the things out. And then if people from the public want to come to this meeting, and they can come, it's a public meeting, they could tour what we have, and just be very upfront about what all we're discussing. I think is really important.
And we talked about doing that tour when, just before that, we had that last flood, then it all got canceled. I think it's a good idea. Keep it out in the public as much as we can.
If you want to devote the whole day, we can move the department head meeting to the 30th.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that's a good idea.
Then we're not rushed.
Okay.
Sound good?
Mm-hmm.
Consensus
Sounds good.
of the board is
Yep.
we'll do it next Tuesday then.
Okay, I'll get the dates or the time set.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
So starting at 9?
Yeah, as soon as, we'll do what we need to with our meeting,
Mhm.
our regular meeting, and then we'll turn it
Just
over
be
to
the only
you.
agenda person on there, be you. So, same as normal. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you. I've got one.
I got mine.
I think,
Mm-hmm.
two. It's just the two. Can I give them out today?
Sure.
Why don't you just
Why
give them
don't
to
you
them?
give it to
Yeah,
We don't have a county board meeting on the 30th.
correct.
Right.
Okay, we got personnel meeting at 10.
On the 30th?
Yeah. Is that?
That's the 30th?
Yeah.
So department head meeting would be in the afternoon of the
It's usually
30th?
1
Yeah,
o'clock. Is
1
that
o'clock, okay.
Yep, okay.
And that would be Dana and I
Mhm.
coming back
Mhm.
for that. And personnel must be Steve and Justin, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Our
Does that
one
mean that
Tuesday.
Judy's the only one who has Tuesday off?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem fair.
I always look forward to that day off, too. Well, I can talk Steve into staying for the, no, I won't. All right. Okay, next Tuesday. Thank you, Brian. Human Services. We're running a little ahead of schedule, so.
You did get my message.
Yeah, I did, but my voicemail wasn't working, so I didn't get it until Sunday night.
Oh,
So
okay.
I apologize, I wasn't ignoring you, I just didn't get it.
Well, I just wanted to,
Oh, yeah. No, our voicemail was down for the weekend, so I apologize.
Your phone hasn't been working right either.
My phone has been
Really?
just terrible. I've been
Yeah.
having all kinds of
Me
problems.
too. I don't know. Something's wrong.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What do we have today? I have contracts. I think contract season must be starting early because usually it's like November, so. Anyway, the first contract I have is from a company named Tellurian UCAN, and it's the La Crosse Care Center. So what it is they have been very kind to us. They've given us a couple of trial runs. We have adults who sometimes they're chemically dependent, sometimes they're mentally ill. Anyway, it's kind of a step-down place. It's a housing unit with, what, 10 units, Tim? I think.
8 or 10 in there.
What's the
Yeah.
name of it?
A housing unit,
No,
sort of.
what's the name?
Tellurian.
Tellurian, yeah. It's a big Wisconsin company, and they are located in La Crosse. The contract we have with them is a place for adults to go. It's $350 a day, which is much less than, say, if somebody would be in like a hospital type setting. It's sort of a between there. It's a step down from like a full-fledged hospital setting for someone, and hopefully they can kind of stabilize themselves a little while they're there. We don't use it very often, but what Tellurian has done for us is they did give us 5 free days this past summer, and we took advantage of that to try out their services, and it worked really well. So we have a contract for them, and it does need a signature. I guess what I need is a motion and a second that you would approve such a contract and with signatures.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Tellurian.
I'll second it.
I just have one question.
Sure.
How many houses do they have in La Crosse? Just one?
Tellurian, yeah, it's like an apartment, well, not apartment, but it's a group setting, and then they have individual rooms. Isn't that the way it is?
Yeah, it's kind of like a group home, one floor. They have staff on hand that manage meds, get meds collected from doctors, stabilize and do some transition planning. Typically it's 3 days up to 21 days, but they usually have people in and out of there within the first 2-3 days, once stabilized. So
It's
basically,
nice that we have a place we can use a little closer
Yep.
to our area.
unfortunately, the bad part about it being in Wisconsin, like we have with, historically with Wisconsin agencies, is they don't take Minnesota MA. And so we have to enter into these contracts, but say we send somebody to Mankato for a crisis bed, that's $800 a day. And so, I mean, it's significantly cheaper than something like that.
Yep. Call for the, okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I sort of stepped out of turn there.
No, that was okay, it was discussion.
There's a lot of them to sign. There's
Okay.
6, so.
Okay. I think we can go right ahead with Karen next.
Wait, I have a couple more.
Oh, do you have more? Okay.
Yeah, that's just the first one.
Surprising. Okay.
The other ones do not need signatures, though. They're both regional contracts, and actually, we sign them while we're up at the directors' meeting, and all the directors from the counties sign them. So actually, they're both renewals, too. The first one is a regional contract. The counties include, by the way, Dodge, Fillmore, Goodhue, Houston, Mower, Steele, Wabasha, Waseca, and Winona County. And it is for the first one is for the contract manager position up there. They have a couple of lawyers through Olmsted County, and we all buy into their services. We've been doing this for, I want to say like eight years, maybe 9. I've been here 8 years, and I think it maybe happened the first year I was here. So anyway, what they do is they create our contracts. They created those contracts that Teresa has, and we do run them by our county attorney as well to make sure the form is correct. But anyway, so that one is being renewed, and that one is basically done. It's just kind of an FYI, I'm letting you know. And then the other one that is being, actually it's being revised and renewed is also a CREST contract with the same counties. Currently, we have a liaison case manager we hired through Olmsted County as well. That person is an advocate and a person who, what would you say, manages basically the cases when someone is committed and they're up at Anoka. And she kind of helps guide that person in that case through the process so they don't languish up there. And because sometimes that's been known to happen. So she's an advocate for the client. Along with Anoka now, the change in the contract is we are adding the Minnesota Security Hospital in St. Peter as well. So she will advocate for us if we need her services. It's a what's the word? We're only as needed kind of a contract. So we only pay when we need her. It's $66.26 an hour, which is pretty expensive. But on the other hand, how much is a day at Anoka?
It's expensive.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, you're looking up at least $400 a day, at least.
I would say that's the low end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's that contract, and that's an FYI as well.
And have you guys been noticing a change in people moving through quicker?
It's huge, yeah.
It depends. I say $400 because if they're medically not stable, then the first 30 days we don't pay anything. And after that, we pay a quarter, roughly, of like $1,100. If they go past that, at some point we're liable for the whole bill, which is like $1,100 a day, $1,100, $1,200 a day. And so, yeah, typically Mary's usually able to get them out of there before we get to that point. There are instances where they're not bedding availability, things like that, which is why commitments and things have such a big impact on our grant funds and things like that. But typically the outcomes of using Mary are significantly better because she's up there and she goes up there weekly.
And so have the beds in Anoka been freeing up a little faster than for other people coming in?
I would love to say they have, but
No.
commitments have been through the roof this year in the state. Our region particularly has been bad.
Yeah. Olmsted County did a study last year. They have as many commitments as we have. They have more.
No.
And they did a study last year. They compared the data from before this liaison case manager was hired to the past year. And it just showed a tremendous decrease in the number of days people were there. And I mean, if you would translate that into dollars, I'm sure it would be, it was for Olmsted, it was really significant. So I don't know why it wouldn't help us too, and you've seen that. So very worthwhile. The other thing I just want to mention real shortly is our budget for August. And overall, the Human Services budget is, well, when you think about it, 67% of the year has gone by through August. And we're at 61% of overall revenue, 62% of overall expenses. So we are really close. And I looked at the income maintenance and the child support units budget, and by the, there's a couple of things in there that, like ED&S, that are supposed to come out of our fund balance. And then we have an estate that's, that we ended up collecting the funds last year, and then the bill came this year. So by the time you take out those couple of little things, our expenses there actually fall out at 66.7%, which is pretty close to 67% for the year. So you guys are like so right on, it's almost kind of weird. But anyway, and then their revenues are at 79%, which is above. The revenues for social services are a little lower, but I don't worry about it yet, and I'm not worried about it really at all anyway, because it's very typical of the state to pay us. We get money at the end of the year, so we still have September, October, 4 months of the year to go. Anyway, the budget is in good shape. I'm real happy about that. And the only other thing I have is this Thursday morning at 9 o'clock, we have an all-staff event for our entire staff, and it's over at the CJC. We are going to be, we usually have a program. Our program is about change, and we're going to do a kind of a fun activity, I think. And anyway, then we bring the staff updates, and we'll have a few treats, not too many, because Friday we're having a potluck, so we just don't want them to all you know, too much, so gotta watch that. Anyway, no, they're fine. It'll be fun. We'll have a good time. It's nice to get everybody together. We need that. So, I'm done.
I just have 2 updates. There's a lot in the works right now, but I don't have a whole lot of details to share, so a lot of new things coming down the pike, so just wanted to give you a little update. Our EDMS, we are up and running fully with child support and the financial workers. Databank will be here a half day on Monday and all day on Tuesday for our last on-site visit with the child support go live. Things are going well. We've just got a few little system glitches that they're going to come help us kind of work out and go through some of our processes a little bit, but that has gone really well. The other thing with EDMS, the way MNsure works, they pull data a little bit differently than what we do with child support and the rest of our Maxis programs. So it was the understanding with DataBank that that would be part of the programming. So tomorrow, myself and 2 staff are there's a WebEx where they're gonna do a video conference to show the product and how it's gonna work. Because currently, right now, we have no way to cross-reference or put in any of our MNsure documentation. And all documentation, even though the state is running the program, if people need to provide verifications, if they need to turn in any documentation, it comes right to the county. So we've had to track paper for all of these cases. So hopefully what we see Wednesday, I've heard it works really well, and then we'll do a discovery date the beginning of October. So hopefully we can get that up and running so we can get the MNsure documentation all in one place. With MNsure, we have to track a lot because there is no tracking, so I'm hoping that'll really help. We've got Excel spreadsheets and lists and everything that we need to track, so this might be able to help us manage that a little bit better. And then with MNsure, we're kind of in a holding pattern right now. Things are going, we get tasks, it's like our work list of things we need to do, and Maria has worked through those and has that all under control, but as we know, open enrollment is coming. We still don't have any real guidelines on what's going to happen with open enrollment, so we're waiting on that. And then there is, with our Minnesota Care cases that were all managed at the state, that conversion for phase 3 and 4, the state should be starting between November and December, somewhere in there. And all of those cases for conversion, we will enter the paper applications here on site instead of the work being done up at the state. So we'll have some training of staff, and then that will, I'm not sure, I believe there's like 86,000 cases statewide that are left to convert. And if people have to send the applications in, I'm not really sure of a number that we'll get. So we're going to have 3 to 4 staff trained on how to enter applications into the system in anticipation of that coming down the road. They're still holding bi-weekly phone conferences, and then once monthly there's virtual-led trainings that we have for the MNsure system. Child support, we've not really known what the impact on MNsure or of MNsure was going to be on child support. Hopefully we'll know more. Child support is now actually sitting at the table with MNsure. Right now we aren't able to do any referrals for medical support between the financial workers and child support. Not really sure how long it's going to take to get this done. As we know, we need to get through conversion and renewals and that type of thing with MNsure, but we're thinking it's going to be a manual process for a while. So we're just trying to kind of deal with that along with everything else. So, and at this point, the state's given a real clear direction on how we're supposed to proceed on the child support side, and so that's what we're following. So once the system is functioning, we're not kind of trying to undo what we had done. So that's really what I have.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot either. Honestly, we're just doing a lot of trainings right now for the things that kick off in January. So DHS has us going to different things such as North Star Care, which kicks off. So between myself and Heather Fee, we're going to those trainings and making sure we're going to be in compliance by January 1st. Really, I don't have much of a concern with that. The MAPC assessment's not overly difficult. So then again, that's just creating that continuity of payment from foster care all the way through adoption, and that's the new system to do so. As far as the rest of the kids' world, school kind of kicked off, obviously, as everybody knows, and so We've been out doing some of our mandated reporter training. We've been to 3 schools thus far, I think, getting out there, what to report, how to report, that type of a thing. We do have some child mortality review training coming up, which is kind of a how to report to the state when we do have a child's death in the county, things like that, from a human services aspect. And we have a few interns coming to visit from Winona State this Friday, so hopefully we'll be able to kind of snag a couple interns to kind of help us out with job duties around here. We do love when they come, and so hopefully we'll have a couple starting in January. The adult side of things, we did have our new regional representative come down, and we had a couple of things that we need to kind of have up and running here that haven't happened for a while. One of them is a multidisciplinary adult protection team. And so I think my idea and the idea that I'm kind of running through some other folks as well is kind of combine that with jail reentry or community reentry from the jail. So getting a group of people together from the jail, county attorney's office, probation, human services to kind of come together and just talk about those types of cases, how we can get people back to the community safely, how do we address mental health issues, that type of stuff all in one, as well as consulting on issues of adult protection, neglect, things like that. So it's in the works. We also have a priority list, which I just about have completed now, just of how we handle intakes that come in, what gets priority over what, physical harm, sexual harm, over financial exploitation, that type of a thing. A few models to work off of, and so I'll send that up to the state, and we'll be good to go there. Again, commitments are high. We have over 15 individuals from our area, from our county that have got the commitment process. That being said, we have been able to kind of divert a few using state commitments, things like that. We've had multiple residential settings. And so it's been a busy year for the adult protection team in the adult protection world, and that's region-wide. It's not just us, as I was saying earlier. Winona County is really feeling the kind of the pinch too. A lot of adult mental health things going on, chemical dependency as well is thrown in the mix. And then our min choices again was pushed back. It was supposed to be March, and then April, and then September, and now we don't know. It's got a letter and saying, hey, we're pushing this back. I'm guessing technical difficulties again. And so we're prepared. I mean, everybody's trained. We're good to go. We've done all the stuff the state's asked us to do, and we're just waiting at this point in time. Mm-hmm. And so, we're we're not overly worked up about it. I think it's going to come no matter what at some point. We got all of our ducks in a row, and so we're just kind of waiting on the state at this point.
Is it the technology part of it that you're?
I think that's what it is. It didn't come out and say it, but I do know, talking with Freeborn County, they've had quite a few glitches going in trying to do the assessments, things like that. So that's my assumption at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll ever really find out, but and that's really all we have going right now. Just keeping busy.
Cool. Thank you.
All right.
Good report.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, enjoy the afternoon.
You too.
Yeah. Does Tess want to come in
I
for?
emailed her.
Okay.
So if we want to do the other stuff.
Okay, consent agenda. I think you saw the preliminary results of the historic jail survey. The written ones, I didn't see the one on the website yet.
Was that the
there
one
any
from the
report?
fair or from the Historical Society?
Both.
That was from the, yeah.
No,
And
just
then-
Somebody, you mean?
It was
No.
just one.
But are they, I didn't look at it real close,
I
but they
thought-
kept track of where they came from.
Okay.
I was just wondering where it came.
Yeah, they had different colored copies so that they could, question which.
I know the one I gave Shar last week was the one I got as far as the fair one. And then,
Right, but we had 2 spots at the fair.
Is that the one with
Oh,
the
that's
comments
right.
and?
Right,
Okay.
Right.
This one.
yeah,
right. The next page tells the numbers.
Yep.
So
Anybody
that,
copies?
right. And also the webpage will be closing down their survey soon, like, Dana, do you remember the date that they said?
I thought they were going to do it last Friday.
No. End of the month. End of the month, okay.
through September.
Yeah.
Okay.
So tell everybody, you know, that still wants input in on this, to go to the website and fill out the survey.
And reports of tons delivered to Excel during August 2015. And the report of Section 8 and family self-sufficiency participants. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Unfinished business, Fraxan issue updates. We have been meeting every Monday morning. We have one coming up next Monday. And then we're also trying to get technical assistance from the EQB board. So that hasn't been set up yet. I don't have anything else on that. Do you, Justin?
No.
It's moving along very well. Highway Department building repair costs, we just discussed that with Brian, that we'll do our tour next week and look over past history. And then the courthouse and historic jail issues, I think we gotta wait till we get the rest of the surveys done.
Well,
before-
and we still have to deal with the
Oh, yeah.
claim, the insurance claim, and where we're at with that.
Any discussion on that? Or should we have to wait for Tess to come, I think, too? She was getting more information for us, I believe. Any word from Tess yet? No. Okay. Approved claims, Human Services License Center.
I'll make a motion to approve claims, human services, and license center disbursements.
Second?
Further discussion?
Did they remove that one that we weren't supposed to pay?
Right.
Yes.
Pending
That's
that
been
one.
removed?
Yep.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Adopt resolution approving application to conduct off-site gambling license for Camp Winnebago.
Move to approve?
Second?
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Commissioner reports. Dana?
I had a meeting on Thursday with the water planning people over Soil and Water. And Friday, we had a special EDA meeting. I also attended that. You know what that's about. We just voted on it. That's it.
Just?
Nothing. I mean, the Fraxon meeting, but you kind of covered that, so.
Yeah, I had nothing.
I went to Mankato for the day Thursday and went over a lot of training materials and tons of information that we'll be using in the next year. It was worth the trip out there. A lot of discussion on it too, so that was really good. And Friday I had the special EDA meeting. That's all.
I had some good meetings this past week. EMS up in Rochester, and there again, that's a joint powers board between 9 different counties for that one. Then they were talking a lot. They have a fall workshop that they did this year. Last year was on pediatric training for pediatric emergencies type deal. This year they did one on farm injuries, and they had very good. They had old farm equipment like the pickers and the stuff for how to turn up a tractor or the corn bin. You know, is that what you call them? Those bins that.
Yeah.
So they had a very good. They could only take 60, and I think they had 64 applicants. So, and they're going to run 2 of them because of that. So that was very interesting. And then I had workforce development up in Rochester also, and that is, you know, the Joint Power Board that does the training for, not welfare, displaced workers, people, IBM people that were laid off, and all the different companies that have moved to Mexico, and then the people who've been laid off, training them to get back into the workforce. That was good. And then I have to add my little adventure coming home, just so you know, how to keep cool as a commissioner. I got on the interstate in the construction zone with a semi in front of me and a semi in back of me, going 65, 70 miles an hour, and I felt something run up my leg. And it was a mouse.
Oh,
And I
geez.
brushed it off. I couldn't stop. I couldn't do
dear.
anything. The only person that would have been killed would be me, not the mouse. He sat on the seat next to me, kept looking at me. And I pull off at the Lewiston exit and open all the doors in the car, and I'm trying to bat it out, would not go out. Had to get back on the interstate.
And the mouse.
Stopped at my brother's farm in Nodine, opened all the doors and windows and set their dog in there. Didn't get out anyway, got all the way home, threw my cat in the car. Still didn't get it, but I think I scared it enough. And then I went and thought, set some mouse traps. It was a very stressful trip home from Rochester.
That's funny.
No, it wasn't funny. I pulled my socks over my pant leg so it wouldn't
Oh,
run up
geez.
that. And I zippered it up so it wouldn't go down my neck. It was a terrible trip. Yeah, I think Michelle had called about Apple Fest, and even I said, Michelle, you got to hear about my day.
That's terrible.
So, and then a reminder that the Township Association banquet is Thursday evening.
Yeah. 6 o'clock, is that?
6 o'clock
Okay.
and dinner at 7.
Okay.
Yeah, it was terrible. Anyway,
I would have parked the car and called a cab.
I couldn't stop. I couldn't even stop. I thought if somebody pulls me over, an officer, because I was hurrying home, I would say, I'll trade cars with you. All right, Tess.
Now it gives everybody something to chuckle.
It was so terrible. Trip by the things we have to do.
Look at poor Scott, he's crying back there.
I don't
Wish
have
I
any
had that
kind of stories like
Geico-
that. Good morning,
Geico
Commissioners.
insurance that had taken care of it.
I'm here to request a telephone stipend for John Dollar, who's the building maintenance foreman, and it's a $30 stipend on a monthly basis, effective October 1. John's position necessarily requires that, now I know I call him all the time on the cell because he doesn't sit behind a desk. The phone he has in the, that he currently has in the Justice Center, it has limited
Limited range, probably?
range,
Yeah.
thank you, I was gonna say mobility. He's mobile, but the phone isn't. And so, because of that, and so he is, I call him regularly, department heads contact him regularly. We have vendors contacting him regularly, and
You need a
he is
motion on
on
it? Yeah.
call, he's also on call. I'm going through all the criteria of our policy. So he meets all that criteria. Yes, Commissioner, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve John Dollar getting a $30 savings for his cell phone.
I'll second it.
Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Tess, did you get any more information on that stipend, not stipend, that MCIT payment? You were questioning it or waiting to hear from somebody?
They are taking it under consideration. I haven't heard anything back. I can send you a copy of the letter if you wish. It was, I basically asked them, in more formal terms, the basis for which they used to determine what appropriate replacement products would be, how they because that impacts the value, and then how they determined their depreciation and what scale they used. And I asked them in particular, of interest was the HVAC system, as well as the flooring. I also raised the issue that it was my contention on behalf of the county that part of the loss was due in part to the assigned adjuster on not getting in the desiccant dehumidifier in a timely manner and ordering heat and closing the building up. Because it's my understanding, had it not been for that, we wouldn't have had mold penetrate
the flooring to 2 levels, or it's likely, I should say, we wouldn't have that, which necessitated the removal, which now impacts our reimbursement. So I think they have a lot to consider before they get back to us. And I left the door open. I also was very, appreciative of their efforts to date to work with us, and reflected that in the letter as well.
So at this time, we're holding the check until we get further clarification.
And I did make that statement that we will be holding it, and because we do not consider this as settlement in full at this time.
Okay.
I did review the check. It doesn't have the restrictions on the back. I can, it's possible, I suppose, when you have conversations, that it's considered settlement in part, but until they say that it's a partial settlement, we probably are very wise not to cash it.
I did get a call from a former commissioner that served on the MCIT board, and he felt that it was a fair settlement because building, but that was his opinion. He just wanted to relay that to us.
And it may be, I'm just asking him, how'd you come up with these numbers? How'd you come up with this, these products? What are the products? We don't even know what products they claim that the appropriate replacement is. I mean, what we don't want is, how do we even know that the HVA system they priced is adequate or appropriate? What life expectancy does it have? The depreciation, over what course of time do they depreciate any of these things? How do you have a, say, 32 or 37 or whatever % depreciation? Is that just building wide? Because the life of each of these are different, and the reason for some of the loss varies. It isn't just the water. So we had our remediation efforts were remarkable. We had all standing water removed. I pointed that out as well. By 2:30 in the afternoon of the day of the event. It's incredible. We were notified at 6:30. It was all gone by 2:30. So some things are just, in my mind, I'm just trying to be conservative with the taxpayers' interest.
Okay.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay. At this time, I think we should recess for 5 minutes and then need a motion to go into closed session at that point.
The meeting's not till 10:15.
Yeah. Oh, 10:15?
10:50.
Okay,
So recess for 20 minutes.
sounds good. We'll recess for 20 minutes, and then after that, being that we did all the other business on the agenda, we'll go into closed session.
Board met in closed session for preliminary consideration of allegations or charges against an individual subject to its authority pursuant to 13D05, Minnesota Statute 13D05, and I would like to now ask the board if it would consider making a motion to hire the firm of Lockridge, Grindle, Nallen to complete the process and make a recommendation as a decision-making to determine whether or not what discipline, if any, might be appropriate, and to make a recommendation to the board at its September 30th meeting.
I will move what Tess just
You're not going to
iterated
repeat
to the
that?
board. No.
It rambled, I'm sorry.
Whatever she said.
Yes.
Whatever she said.
So,
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
thank you.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
All in
Do you
favor?
want this back, Tess?
Aye.